Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Batman Arkham Knight 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today we are taking a look at none other than Harley Quinn, based off her appearance in the third game. Now I personally never thought we were going to be getting a Harley from this line, but I'm pleased to report, yeah, they made her and she's finally been released. Now I picked up mine from toyswonderland.com. The link for that is of course down in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and an awesome reward system. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art for Harley Quinn. Right up here in the front we have a massive image of the character, except this isn't the figure herself. This is a rendering from the game, kind of in keeping with the rest of the figures from the same line. I do love the sort of rough and matte texture all over the front of the box, and that extends all the way around. There is another shot, this time of a concept art version of Harley on the back. Now of course, just like the rest of the figures in the Arkham line, you can open up the front cover to reveal the figure inside. Now let's get her out here. I know that technically in the third game, Joker had perished, so this version of Harley didn't really have her put in. But in my display, I have the Arkham Asylum version of Joker, so I definitely will be posing these two figures together in the display. But here we have Harley Quinn. First in-hand impressions are pretty positive. I'm liking the super unique look and feel of this figure in hand. Now as you can see, she does come with one tray, so what we are going to do now is get all of her accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything she comes with. Here we have all the parts and pieces that go with Harley Quinn. Now, starting off with the display base first, it's pretty much in keeping with the rest of the line. You do have a shot of Harley on the left there, Arkham Knight on the front, and of course a Gotham City skyline in the background. I also love the Batman Arkham Knight metal nameplate on the front, then up on top just a regular crotch grabber. Now, because you can actually play as Harley in Arkham Knight, she comes with a ton of awesome accessories, and one really cool piece in the form of this clip. I mean, it's just a pretty basic little plastic piece at first glance, but it can be used with the baseball bat to peg it onto her back like you see in the game. So yes, don't worry, you will see that a little bit later in the video. Now, while we have the bat here, we may as well take a look at it. I love the sculpt and texture for the hand wraps down below. It actually looks like dirty and grimy material, but it isn't. It's fully sculpted plastic. You also do have a bunch of chunks that have been taken out of the bat itself, and there is some silver dry brushing on the surface, and also some airbrushing on the red sections. This bat looks like it absolutely has seen some battle, and I love it. Now you also get a massive mallet. The one thing to be wary about here is the weight. It's actually surprisingly heavy up on top. The instruction manual does tell you to use two hands on Harley when you have her holding it, so I probably will be doing that if I have her displayed with the mallet. I do love the wooden texture. It looks potentially slightly cartoony, like an Acme style hammer, but still, it's from a video game, so I think we can allow it. Then coming down to the handle section, interestingly enough, there are these little stripes going all the way down. I don't know if that's supposed to be there or if that's just a byproduct of the way they molded and casted the handle itself, but either way, it just breaks up the overall basic brown look of the handle. Then down below we do have that same awesome level of texture on the red grip, which looks fantastic. You also do get some firearms. Of course, it's Harley Quinn, she has to come with some other weapons, but the cool thing about her big, light machine gun is that there is a Polaroid of the Joker on the front. That, I do believe, is an image from Arkham Asylum, and it's a very nice touch. This gun has also been totally tricked out. You have the pink dice around the front, this little fuzzy section up the top, and also some straps holding what appears to be a grenade launcher to the front of the gun here. You can also see it's been customized in a Harley Quinn color scheme, and you even have some bullet detail into the box on the side there. This is one totally badass weapon, and one I'm very tempted to display her with. Now, to go along with the fully tricked out paint job of the light machine gun, you get a paint can. You have a paint brush that you can remove, and you also have some paint spilling down the side of the can. This is just really nice set dressing. It's something you can pop on the base, and it just adds to the overall story of the Arkhamverse. The last two pieces that she does come with are, of course, this one being her rather oversized gun with the Harley Quinn logo on both sides. It's pretty basic in the way it's been painted, just in a nice gunmetal. There's no chipping or dirt and grime that's been rubbed into it to make it look more realistic, but again, it's from a game, so that does make sense. Lastly, she comes with the jack in the box. You do have a fully rotating handle on the side, and you can remove the jack if you want to and close up the box. The box itself is fully detailed. It is absolutely filthy. And the same thing can be said for Jack here. He does have weathering down in all the crevices, and you can see he's seen better days. He's unfortunately missing an eye and his mouth has been sewn shut, and you also have a spring so he can spring backwards and forwards. And just like the paint can, this is definitely some really awesome set dressing and something I will absolutely pop on the display base. Lastly, she does come with a full array of hands. They are a little bit basic in their execution. I wouldn't be surprised if they are slightly inaccurate. I'm pretty sure Harley Quinn did have some colours on her nails, although I could be wrong. The skin texture though does look very realistic. What we are going to do now though is get Harley Quinn herself out here and take a closer look. And here we have her standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And yeah, it does what it says in the tin. This is an Arkham Knight version of Harley Quinn in 1/6 scale, and I personally am super happy with it. Hot Toys, you've done a great job here. Yes, there are a couple of things which we do need to talk about that aren't 100% flawless, but for the most part, I am very happy. The head sculpt looks awesome. It looks just like Harley Quinn from the game. The body, the proportions, I'm pretty sure it's all new for this specific figure, and it's all the better for it. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime down the line they use most of the parts and pieces, on the body at least, to create an Arkham City, maybe an Arkham Asylum version of Harley as well, because I definitely would pick up those other versions. But for now, yes, I am very happy with this one. What we are going to do now though is take her off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. Here we have her up close and personal. Now you'll have to forgive me if I miss any inaccuracies or stuff that's not quite right, because it's been a while since I've played Arkham Knight. Do let me know if I miss something down in the comments below. Now starting off with the head sculpt, some people immediately said that it looks nothing like Harley Quinn from Arkham Knight. I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I can definitely see the likeness. I love the expression, by the way, with the subtle smirk and the raised eyebrows, but I totally understand where you're coming from. We will address that a little bit more later on in the video. At the very least, there is still skin texture underneath the face paint, the eyes look awesome, and the hair is very well sculpted. This front piece is actually a separate section, so there is some depth over the top and also underneath. You do have a ton of sculpting around the back, and I personally really do like the metallic gold that they use for blonde hair. It makes it look like hair, it's got a little bit of a sheen to it. I do understand that some people don't love when they do that, but for me, it definitely works. Now, they've done something interesting with the body here. They basically tried to make this figure as seamless as possible. There aren't any breaks or joints to be found anywhere, which I think works perfectly for Harley Quinn. For the arms, they did use seamless arms. On this side though, I kinda wish they didn't, because it's not all that required. The elbow joint is hidden by this piece anyway, but then again on this side it's fully exposed, and that's why they went with a seamless arm. However, the arms themselves are pegged into the body. That means they are separate entities, so if you do want to have her holding the gun out, there is no stress whatsoever being placed on this seamless material. It's a completely separate pegged in unit. That is absolutely the best way to do it. As for the chest area, that's actually a faux piece that's applied over the top of the body. So underneath is a hard sculpted plastic body, then this rubbery overlay, which does include the neck, is applied over the top. That works, there is some skin texture there, it looks suitably realistic, but at the same time suitably gamey, if that does make sense. As for her outfit, it's a lot busier on the upper torso than down here at the legs, so we may as well speak about this first. She is wearing a shirt, which is just a white fabric. I do like these poofy shoulder pieces up the top, it gives her a little bit more personality. And I love that the collar actually sits down in place. It's not sticking up, it's not looking crazy. This looks awesome. Now she does have this sort of corset bra style piece, which is a more solid rubbery plastic. Yes, that immediately does mean you're not going to have a ton of range of motion out of it, but it is accurate to the game. You also do have this little bow out the back, which is a separate sculpted in piece. That isn't string, it's actual sculpted plastic, but it does a very convincing job of looking like string. Then we do have these alternating arm bracer pieces on either side. One in red, one in a nice deep royal blue. You do have red string coming down the front, although shouldn't this bow be red if the string is red, and then on this side shouldn't the string be blue, and then the same thing down here? I'll have to go ahead and check the source material to see what is supposed to be done there. She does also have this ballet style skirt, which is very poofy and is made of multiple different layers of material. You also do have a wire running along the bottom, so you can get a little bit of shape out of it. Then coming down to the pants, they are this vinyl feeling skin tight material. This feels an awful lot like what they used for Arkham Knight Batman. The interesting thing here though is these pieces don't appear to be stuck on. They actually appear to be part of the material itself and then painted. I actually really like that. That means they aren't going to fall off, but they still look and feel the part. There is texture there, they feel raised and separate to the pants. Then coming down to the boots, I really like the sculpt. Of course, alternating colours being Harley Quinn, and you do have the diamonds on the back, just like you have on the thighs here. It's a very interesting design for Harley Quinn, maybe not as classic as some people would have liked, but for me, this figure is definitely going to stand out in the Arkham display. Just quickly before we move on, I wanted to show you what the baseball bat looks like on her back. It very simply and easily pegs into that clip that slides over her harness, and it looks relatively seamless. From the front, yeah, it totally works. This is a great way of displaying the baseball bat as part of your collection and not having to relegate it to just being stored in the box. Plus, say one day you want to go ahead and change up the pose for your Harley, well, it's already there strapped to her back. You don't have to go fishing for the accessory in the box. For those wondering, yes, technically you can use a Margot Robbie Harley Quinn head sculpt on this body. This one just happens to be the prisoner version, but unfortunately the neck port is a slightly bigger connection on this head sculpt. So you will have to do some modding, but if you wanted to, yeah, you could totally make this work. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, of course we had to start here. Here we have the Joker himself from Arkham Asylum. Now I know technically he had perished by the time we got this particular version of Harley, but if you wanted to, you could still totally pose them together in the display. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Accuracy be damned, because these two look fantastic standing side by side. Even though the designs for these characters were many years apart in terms of the game's release dates, I reckon you can still very clearly tell that they are from the same universe. So yes, these two look awesome standing together. Next up here we have Arkham Knight Batman, and as you can see, he's absolutely enormous. He's a lot taller than Harley Quinn, but that works. Batman in those games was this big, buff, imposing presence, and in the display you can still totally get that from the figure. The body that they used is absolutely massive. Harley Quinn still is a really darn decent size, and she fits in perfectly alongside the other Arkham figures. And lastly, I'm not entirely sure if anyone actually wanted to see this, but I certainly did. Here we have the Red Hood version of Arkham Knight standing alongside Harley Quinn. As you can see, she actually is relatively tall. She's not that much shorter than Jason Todd here, and that works for me. She's not a really tiny presence on the shelf, she stands out, and she looks awesome. Now, in my personal opinion, these two look great together. They're from the same game, it makes total sense. I am hoping that eventually we do get more characters. Fingers crossed that the Nightwing that they showed at the various Comic-Cons actually goes up for pre-order, and then one day we can also get a Tim Drake Robin. But for now, I'm still really happy with the line. Just going over articulation on Harley. Now bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I'm willing to go. Now starting off with the head sculpt, it is on a fixed rubbery neck. That means there is a double ball peg on the inside, so going forward to about there, which is actually a fairly decent range, going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up the full way. They will of course go forward and back because they are separate entities to the body. Underneath this little shirt piece, it's separately pegged in, so you don't really have a ton of restrictions there. You have a butterfly joint at the shoulder, a double bend at the elbow, which is seamless and only gets you a little bit past 90. That does also incorporate a swivel. You do have a regular shrunken down female 1/6 scale wrist peg. As for the torso, this is kind of a solid rubbery overlay, so you don't get a ton of crunch, but you do get some swivel and pivot side to side. The legs will go forward to there and hold position. They will go out to there and kind of spring back down. Swivel at the upper thigh, a double bend at the knee, and of course lastly a ball joint down here for the ankle. Just going over the 3 cool and 3 annoying things with Harley Quinn. The first annoying thing, at least for me, this could potentially not bother you at all. It's the material choice for the pants. Now I just went back and checked some screenshots as well as some gameplay footage, and yes, there was a little bit of sheen to it, but they could have very easily used the same material they used for Batman Beyond. It's a proper nylon feeling material, it's slightly stretchy, it's a lot more durable, versus this super rubbery vinyl, just like what they used for Arkham Knight Batman, that feels a lot more fragile. The second annoying thing, and by all means, I totally understand why they didn't do it, but I reckon they could have done a split cut boot design. I mean, yes, they want to keep it fully integrated and as seamless as possible, but if there was ever a figure that needed that extra level of ankle articulation due to the size of the heel and the small toe, she is rather difficult to keep standing. Yes, they did flare the top out, so you have a little bit of pivot side to side, but overall, I would have loved to have seen a split cut boot design. The third annoying thing, and I do want to stress this is not an issue for me personally whatsoever. Y'all know I love the head sculpt. I was just praising it earlier on in the video, but some people have said that the likeness isn't 100%. I can totally see where you're coming from. Also, in the game, her makeup was a lot more disheveled. It was rubbed away in certain areas, the black eye makeup was starting to run down. This is a very crisp and clean look, and while it works for me, I can totally understand if it doesn't for you. The first cool thing is that they did include wires around the base of the skirt, so yes, you can get a little bit of posability. That's something that I totally didn't expect, but I'm super glad that they did. The second cool thing is that these pigtails are jointed, so you can move them around. Maybe she's swinging the mallet and these are going off in a certain direction, or they're going back or forward. It's entirely up to you. You can pose them however you want. The third cool thing is that all of the little rings dotted around her outfit are made of actual metal. They could have very easily just sculpted all of this to the suit, because this is all a rubbery style plastic, and just painted the silver on there, but I'm really glad that they took the time to make every single one of these little circles actual metal. Just wrapping up on the Hot Toys Arkham Knight Harley Quinn. Now, going into this, I was really excited. Y'all know I'm a massive DC fan, and I love Batman's Rogues Gallery. Harley Quinn is a big part of that. I also love the Arkham series, so pretty much all of my boxes were already ticked, but I didn't expect to love this figure as much as I do. It's flawed. It does have the seamless elbows, the materials will crease and potentially be damaged over time, but I don't think that's enough of a reason to warrant not picking this up. I mean, the accessories are awesome. I love the little bits of set dressing in the form of the paint tin and the jack in the box. Then the weapons are gorgeous. They're really nicely painted and sculpted and detailed, and they work perfectly with Harley. Plus, they even did the little clip on the back for the baseball bat that they totally didn't have to do, but it makes this just that little bit more accurate to the game. Then the look of the outfit, not talking about the material choices, obviously, the look is there. It's accurate enough for me. I love the head sculpt, the expression is fantastic, and it's very nicely painted. So overall, is this figure a must-get if you're a DC and Arkham fan? Yes, absolutely, go ahead and pick her up. If you aren't getting the Arkham line though, that gets a little bit more tricky because there are other versions of Harley coming out. So maybe potentially you want to wait for one of the Margot Robbie versions. But for me, I really love this figure. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is, of course, down in the description below. They do have 12-month installment plans and an awesome reward system. While you are down there, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.